Coming up next, folks, it's the Pro Wrestling Report. Prime time here again from Casablanca on Brady. The Cruiserweights debut on Raw this past Monday night. Smackdown. Is it on its way to beating WWE Raw in the ratings? TNA signs a brand new knockout, and you may be surprised by the name. Also, we've got Be the Booker for Clash of Champions, which is this Sunday on the WWE Network. All that and so much more, including hot news, DWHS, and everything else that fits into video here this week on the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime, which starts right here, right now.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime TV, the longest-running pro wrestling news program in the world, with your hosts, David Hero and Damian Nelson.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Thursday night. I love it here on this new Thursday night.
You do, don't you?
Thursdays are a great night because we're like the Smackdown replacement.
I understand why you wanted to move to Thursdays. Because Saturday, December 3rd, you would be able to do
Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius Tiberius, the alleged backyard, one-time knockout, straight-edge, hardcore Hall of Famer hero, here on Thursday, September the 23rd,
Why are you changing
2016.
the subject? I mean, it's a huge day. It's a huge date.
I'm still waiting for names. I said right here last week that the only way I would decide to headline House of Hardcore here in Milwaukee on December 3rd would be dependent upon the names on the undercard.
You don't
who
think
I would
you're
be
a
on
big
top
enough name?
for. Huh?
Who do you want to be on top of?
I said 4.
Oh, okay.
I said who would be the undercard on the card. So I'm waiting for those names. You got anything there, playa?
There's a Ryback. There's a Tommy Dreamer. There's a Mickey James.
Wait, Ryback's going to be there?
Yeah.
The big guy?
The big guy. Colt Cabana.
Is he in the cage match?
No. He
Replacing
could be.
me?
He could be.
Classic Colt Cabana?
Yes. Or Boom Boom Colt Cabana.
Those are good names. I need more.
Well, more will be announced shortly.
Okay, then perhaps at this point, based on those names, I'm not wrestling.
I know that you want to be on top of people, and that's what. And as long as they.
In the terms of professional wrestling, I would like to be on top at House of Hardcore. If I decide to participate in a matchup I'm not contractually obligated to participate in. What part of those words that are coming out of my mouth do you not comprehend?
Just imagine you could be headlining another sold-out event. You've never done that before.
I'm already a main eventer. Why do I need to worry about doing it
Have you
again?
ever sold out anything?
Can you ask yourself that question?
Oh, I've sold out a bunch of times.
Folks, it's time for this week's WWE Raw Report. Let's get right down to it from this past Monday night show in Memphis, Tennessee. Firstly, David Hero, we haven't talked much about the Cruiserweight Championship tournament that occurred on the WWE Network. But the Cruiserweights did debut on Raw this past Monday night, specifically 4 of them, including Brian Kendrick. And, of course, we saw the champion, TJ Perkins, as well. The matchup itself, the Cruiserweight matchup on Raw itself. What was your takeaway from that? The introduction of the Cruiserweights and their delivery in what felt like a 15, 20-minute matchup on Raw this past Monday night.
You know what? They were given a lot of time. They were able to showcase their abilities. But when a 3-hour show, much like how Nitro used to be, you have extra time for something like that.
And well, 3 hours and what, 15, 20 minutes it went this week?
Let's be honest.
Stop the overrun.
It's going to be sexy for a few weeks, maybe a couple months.
Was it sexy this week?
Yeah, I think so, because it was new.
Well, are you a Cruiserweight kind of guy? Meaning, is that a genre you like, a genre you support?
I mean, I'll watch it because, you know, they're talented, but it's not going to sell me on watching the show. I'm not going to tune in because I want to see one of those matches.
Okay. So you say it'll be sexy for a few weeks, and then what?
And then, like, the same way the, what was it last year with the women? What'd they call that?
The Divas Revolution?
Yeah. How that was hot for like a couple months and that went by the wayside.
Culminating at WrestleMania with the introduction of the women's division, no longer calling them divas. We got Charlotte out of it. We got Becky Lynch out of it. I think it did fizzle. You're right, in between, but it ultimately paid off.
Right, and I'm sure that's what will happen, but it will eventually fizzle because, like with most wrestling fans, once the new toys get a little old, then they got to find something else.
Toys? So the wrestlers are kids and toys now, in your opinion?
At times. Well, they have action figures.
What did you think of the 4 men we saw on Raw this past Monday? Obviously, we know Brian Kendrick. We've seen him wrestle before. And you made that point about when he was wished his future endeavors in WWE back in 2009. To be back on Raw this past week was a bit of a treat for him.
It was, and good for Brian Kendrick because it's like he's gotten better since he's been gone.
Like a fine wine. Yes. Better with age?
Yeah, I mean, him and London were great. They were former tag team champions. but it just seems like Brian Kendrick has a new fire, a new it thing about him. And I think him and TJ Perkins, formerly known as Manic and Suicide in TNA, are going to have...
Thank you for making that point, because I think that's a valid point.
Are going to have one hell of a match on Sunday.
Does his history in TNA matter?
No, because he was under a hood almost the whole time.
A hood?
A mask.
Like the hood of a car?
No,
a mask.
A mask, because they didn't know who he was.
When they find out, maybe they just did who he was. Will that better or worsen his reputation?
It's not going to matter because, let's face it, when TNA has 200,000 viewers.
The match was long, but not as
cutting that
exciting. I'm protecting you from yourself. The match was long, but it's not as exciting as I expected it to be. Remember the cruiserweight days of Nitro, as you talked about earlier?
Yes.
Even the light heavyweight division, I think that's what it was called in WWE.
It was a different set of cruiserweights, though.
You're absolutely right. They had
Lucha
guys
Libre,
like Juventud Guerrero.
And La Parka, and Eddie,
Yeah.
and Dean Malenko, and Jericho, and Ray.
But those matches were not necessarily fast, but they were quick and fast-paced. And provided nonstop action.
They
Absolutely.
were not as acrobatic.
So, do you think that's a deliberate approach to? Because we didn't see a lot of acrobatics on a sustained basis in the Cruiserweight Tournament as well on WWE Network.
Well, from what I understand is that the agents in those matches made sure that they got a certain message across.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So the matchup now on Sunday at Clash of Champions is TJ Perkins defending his Cruiserweight Championship against the Brian Kendrick. We're going to talk about that and be the booker later in this broadcast.
That. Two guys that you would never, ever, ever expect to be fighting for a championship in the WWE.
Right? On Raw, of all places.
Are having that match.
What happens when you blend the colors red and purple, red and blue? What do you get?
You get purple, but I don't think people... Someone else mentioned that on Twitter this past week, and I think it's a coincidence. What other colors
I just
are left?
asked a question. Why are you all defensive all of a sudden?
Go yellow.
Why not? NXT? They run out of colors? Green's available.
But that's the color.
Velocity is no longer on the air.
I think purple was... don't start reading into it like everybody else.
Well, here's my question. Obviously, we'll see this Cruiserweight Tournament on an annual basis, it seems. And they're cross-branding, cross-promoting, and showing, what the winner of this tournament, it meant something. The tournament meant something because these people got jobs on Raw.
You even got a medal out of it, too.
But you said it would be sexy for a little while. Can they sustain it for 10 months until next summer when it starts again?
You don't have enough guys.
Can they bring more up?
You're going to have to. And
Can they add more people existing?
How many do you bring up? You got 6 right now.
Well, based on the events of the last 2 weeks, Sin Cara might be better off in the Cruiserweight division.
He might be, but here's the thing.
Alicia Fox, too.
Alicia Fox has her hands full of Nia Jax right now. But
is that going to be on pay-per-view?
Yes. What I don't get is the Cruiserweight division going to be like the women's division, where you only have X number of women?
Well, I mean, probably. That's how it's always been, wasn't it?
Right, but here's the thing. You have, what, 6 or 7 Cruiserweights?
How get old real fast.
Extremely fast.
Yeah. So ultimately, do you think all 32 or 28 of the 32 men who participated in the tournament will end up as part of the Cruiserweight division?
No. I'd give them their own show.
Perhaps that's ultimately going to be the goal.
On the program.
Huh. Interesting. On the program. Yet
on
still
network,
have to fill 3 hours of Raw.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not going to sit through an hour of Cruiserweights. Would you?
I didn't during the Cruiserweight tournament.
Okay.
And I won't.
Exactly. It's a niche audience.
Yeah, true.
Joe Walmart is not going to watch.
The guy that supported McCain?
Yes, is not going to watch an hour of Raw with just Cruiserweights flying around.
Well, these men were not Cruiserweights, but it was an interesting tag team 5-on-5 match that developed out of Chris Jericho with the list of Jericho on Raw this past Monday night. Chris Jericho is just getting more and more fantastic.
He's a character of himself, isn't he?
He absolutely is, and he's so great at it. I remember having him on this program and talking to him and asking him and telling him that he was basically the master manipulator, because I'm not sure there are many people who fall into the category he does. The Rock is one of them, that can hold an audience in his very hand. But the audience, in the case of Jericho, doesn't realize he's doing it. They think they're winning when at the end of the day, he's winning.
I could see, a good point with Jericho. I could see him being in the Cruiserweight division. That's how you elevate it. He's got to be at least 209 pounds.
Isn't that why Brian Kendrick is in it?
No.
No? He's not the experienced veteran, if you will, that will keep everybody else in check?
If you want to elevate it, you bring in a Jericho down there,
I don't think anybody could view Jericho as a cruiserweight in this day and age.
It depends what he weighs in at.
Who else could they potentially make a cruiserweight to help elevate
Neville?
that? Yes, they absolutely could.
Yes.
They absolutely could. Yes, who else, David Hero?
Maybe Seth Rollins?
No, not at all. He's not. He may be a cruiserweight, but he's not a cruiserweight.
But it's all about the weight limit.
Well, which one's the one with no weight limits? No, was that the old?
That's the X division.
That was the X, but no limits at all. No, not Seth Rollins. Absolutely not.
Austin Aries.
That would be a waste of
I'm
him.
surprised they didn't bring up Austin Aries for that. Wouldn't you agree?
Do you think that the actual weight limit?
Why did you just no-sell Austin Aries in the Cruiserweight division?
Because it led me to the next question that I'm asking as a follow-up question. Do you think that the weight limit is more of a visual thing?
No, it's a legit shoot because they disqualified a guy from the tournament by not making weight.
Huh.
Everyone got weighed in, and if they weren't at a weight or below it, they couldn't participate.
Do you bring guest stars into the Cruiserweight division for one-off matches? A Finn Balor, if you will, at 190 pounds.
I never would have said Finn Balor.
You never would have? Because you have?
Well,
I'm saying as a guest star. Much like John
thing.
Cena did with
Here's
the United States Championship, can you use those stars to...
Finn Balor is hurt, so I didn't even think of him because he's on the shelf. Out of sight, out of mind. But yeah, Finn Balor he's a Cruiserweight, legit.
How about the New Day teaming up with your favorite team, Endzone Cass, and the endorsed Sami Zayn in a hot tag team matchup this past Monday night on Raw?
That's a 5-on-5?
It was a 5-on-5.
What an interesting group.
Yeah, Jericho being the single on one side, Zayn being the single on the other. Obviously, those two with a matchup at Clash of Champions this Sunday.
You put New Day, Endzone Cass, and Sami Zayn in a room together. That's like the best racial bar joke on the planet.
You know, Endzone Cass, we talked last week about them potentially becoming a little boring, if you will. They were on fire this week. The environment made it happen. And I think what also was evident in this past Monday's episode was how strong that tag team division actually is. Seeing them all basically in the ring at one time in one place gave it a bit more of a legitimacy, if you will, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It felt like SmackDown had the better tag team competition. We'll talk about SmackDown in a minute because they had some interesting news in their tag team.
I think SmackDown has the best tag team division.
Even after seeing all tag teams pretty much in the ring this past Monday night.
You know why? Because right now all the tag teams on Raw are very vanilla. None of them stick out.
Including Endzone Cass?
Yeah, they just did
Including the New Day?
Endzone Cass
including the
spent the
Carlitos?
last 2 weeks of putting over the Carlitos.
Well, no, they won this week.
But the 2 weeks prior.
Which made the Shining Stars eligible to be valid to be parts of the matchup this week.
Right, but still. I mean, that's like doing the job to the Conquistadors.
You know, speaking of jobs, folks, Bayley got pinned again this past week on WWE Raw, and as you asked for,
doing it right.
You asked for the uproar, the outcry, if you will, over that. There is none, but it was Charlotte who pinned her again, but there were shenanigans that led up to it when Dana Brooke interfered in the matchup. Well, she was part of the matchup, but she wasn't legal.
The NXT star is not beating Raw talent. She did the first weekend. She beat Charlotte. But now it's like the people that are on the main roster are finally getting their heat back. Thank God. It just, but you know, Dana Brooks and Charlotte, they remind me of Bert and Ernie.
Please tell.
Well, they're just best friends that really.
Or are you just thinking about them because Enzo and Cass mentioned them this past Monday night?
Did they?
And Jericho.
No,
some of those people aren't even alive.
No, just because they're like best friends, but they argue all the time.
Did Bert and Ernie argue?
All the time.
Over Rubber Ducky?
Always over, especially in the tub over Rubber Ducky.
Because he was the one. Bert wanted to be the one. But Ernie liked Rubber Ducky.
Bert was the one.
Bayley, long term.
Yes. She's going to be the face of the women's division on Raw. Long term.
All righty. Also on Raw, what are your thoughts, David Hero? Do you believe in Bo? He's trimmed up quite a bit, has Bo Dallas. He looked very different in this week's episode because he's
not wearing the shirt anymore. He's wearing ring gear.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's in the gym training harder because he knows you only get so many opportunities unless you're Dolph Ziggler. You know, so it's true. Why do you?
We'll talk about that.
You laugh, but the stuff that I say is
I was
honest.
off camera.
It's authentic. But Bo Dallas, this is it's put up or shut up time for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to do something now.
The main event saw Rusev lose to Roman Reigns in a cage match, an escape clause cage match.
Pump the brakes, kid. It was Kevin Owens losing to Roman Reigns in a cage.
Oh, Rusev interfered after Kevin Owens won that matchup.
How could you confuse Owens and Rusev?
It's the hair.
It's similar?
At least on my monitor it was.
Oh.
But anyways, that cage matchup made earlier in the night.
What a great match, though.
Really?
Roman Reigns, I thought, had an amazing match, and here's the beauty of it.
What's the beauty of it?
They beat Kevin Owens without beating Kevin Owens.
Mm-hmm. Did Kevin Owens beat himself?
No, it's in a cage. You had to climb out of the cage to win.
Is that why the escape clause was all of a sudden back?
Yes.
When's the last time we've seen a cage match in WWE with the escape clause?
You didn't have to pin him to beat him.
Yep.
So it didn't matter who won or lost.
Did not matter, and it did matter, though, what happened after the matchup, as Rusev, as I talked about earlier, came down to assist Kevin Owens in a beatdown of Roman Reigns. To be saved was Reigns by Seth Rollins, who had beaten Rusev
that's
handedly.
So weird. It's almost like when Hulk Hogan came in to save the Macho Man.
Which led to the Mega Powers, and then the Mega Powers exploding here in Milwaukee.
Yes. Why would Rollins go to save Reigns?
You don't want this to happen, it seems, based on your reactions. But is Seth Rollins already or on his way to being one of the faces, the good guys of Raw?
He is already. He is, and that's cool because you need some good guys.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of.
Who are the good guys on Raw right now?
Well, you've got right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's a loaded question because you could put Owens in that category. To be honest with you, he's over. Sami Zayn is one of the good guys.
Who can't win a match?
He doesn't need to. He's that good.
Sure, just keep losing.
Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins. I guess you'll put him in that category.
Mm-hmm.
Roman Reigns, obviously.
Endzone Cass, New Day. That's about it. You need a strong single babyface, and that can be Seth Rollins.
All right, folks. Well, that is this week's WWE Raw, and we have so much more to talk about and to discuss on this week's program. As a matter of fact, we have so much, we're going to let Linda Kay tell you what's coming up next.
God.
Coming up next on PrimeTime, which WWE star took his first TV pinfall in 6 years this week? Who is the new knockout on TNA? And be the booker for this Sunday's Clash of Champions.
The biggest party event of WrestleMania weekend is back. WWE Hall of Famer Kevin Nash presents Shenanigans Orlando. Join Nash and his friends for a huge VIP party Friday, March 31st. Party with the biggest stars of wrestling at the world famous Mangoes on International Drive to kick off WrestleMania weekend. Don't miss Shenanigans Orlando, hosted by Kevin Nash. Tickets are available now and going fast at PWRshow.com. That's PWRshow.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Thursday night. Coming to you here from Casablanca on Brady in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero.
I just realized.
What'd you just realize?
Well, before us, what was another popular show on Thursday nights?
Seinfeld?
It was Friends.
I never watched that show. Actually, I've never seen a full episode of Friends.
And you criticize me for not watching Seinfeld?
You can't compare the two shows.
Friends was amazing.
Friends was amazing to a certain portion of the population.
Is it because you couldn't relate?
I could not relate to them, no.
But you could relate to Seinfeld?
Absolutely.
How so?
Because you're a bit like Jerry, and I'm a bit like Kramer.
How am I like Jerry?
Do you want me to go into detail?
Yes, please. This is interesting.
Out of respect, out of respect for you, I'm not going to do that here.
Well, off air we'll talk about it. It's not very curious. Does that make Linda Elaine?
That would make a Linda Elaine, of course. Who would be Frank Cosentino is George. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, he's George.
And Omar can be Newman.
Omar. Very true. Speaking of all that, shenanigans, David Hero. Just saw the spot. Got some names signed for that great event on WrestleMania weekend
Yes.
in Orlando, Florida, at Mango's, which is just absolutely amazing. And it's going to be a great time for all. We appreciate all of you who have purchased your tickets already, including those of you who had purchased in prior years. You got the first opportunity to buy your tickets, and now you are on your way to Shenanigans, the VIP party in Orlando, Florida, on March 31st, starting at 10 o'clock p.m. But now you have your chance. Everybody has their chance. Tickets available now at PWRshow.com and going very, very fast.
Is the people that got the chance jumped on it quick.
They did, and they
did not waste any time getting those VIPs.
Absolutely, and again, Shenanigans, PWRshow.com. It is the biggest party. It is the party of WrestleMania weekend.
It's one of the brands of WrestleMania now.
It has become that, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
And we hope to see you all there. And let's take that and move on to this week's WWE Smackdown report. And wow, what a kickoff to the show, David Hero, with Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, and a contract signing that, of course, ended in a bit of a beatdown, but the passion, the energy, and the interest that was held by these women to open the Smackdown show was pretty interesting. I thought it was good.
Here's what I noticed. Alexa Bliss is trying to be Harley Quinn, and that frustrates
From
me.
Suicide Squad?
Yes. Same color scheme, but she's not being Harley Quinn.
But she's trying to be Harley Quinn?
She's cosmetically, yes.
Okay.
She needs to stop
Okay.
because she's doing a terrible job at it.
Okay, and that offends you how?
Because commit or don't do it.
Was Harley Quinn committed?
Several times. You've
So,
never seen Suicide Squad?
I have not had the chance to see it yet. It's on my to be seen movie list.
You need to see it, but yeah.
I did just watch Captain America: Civil War in its entirety.
Just
We
now?
discussed that on this show. You know, I'm a busy man at times, and when I went to see it on the night before it was actually released to the public, I had an incident and ended up in a 4DX theater where the seats move, and I can't do
take
that.
those kind of meds when you see those kind of movies.
And then by the time I got to see it, I fell asleep, and then I didn't get a chance to get back to the theater to see it, but I watched it. Just cinematic excellence was that film. So no, I've not yet gotten to
And you're
Suicide
a
Squad.
Captain America guy.
I am a Captain America fan. He's
How
the
did you
greatest
feel at the
superhero of all
end?
time. I thought I'm fine.
He quit.
But he came back.
He quit.
He's
He
fine.
threw
He's
the
still there.
He threw the shield down.
The movie continued. Did you watch the credits?
Yes.
He's
but
fine.
he left the shield behind.
So what? He's still
That's
there.
his gimmick.
He's still there. He'll get another shield.
I hope so. He needs it.
He'll be fine. You were explaining how you didn't like Alexa Bliss.
No, I did. I explained it. Well, I mean, should I go on for like 5 more minutes?
Lynch says, and this was interesting, she made the point several times, she was not born to be a champion, but she fought to be a champion. Interesting choice of words there.
She's great. Becky Lynch is amazing. And if anyone should have been drafted number 2, it should have been her.
American Alpha made the return to SmackDown this past week. And David, we had talked about the injury and the fact that they didn't go on to win the tag team championships in the tournament that Heath Slater and Rhino won them in, that when they came back, they would be thrust right into that title picture, which I totally thought would be the case, but not quite as the Usos
they gotta
became.
get some more miles out of the Uso turn.
Yeah?
And let's face it, if you put American Alpha in the ring with Rhino and Heath Slater, American Alpha's going to beat them.
It's a bit lopsided.
Yes.
And the crowd would be a bit confused because they wouldn't know who to cheer for.
Exactly.
So smart, but the Usos did become the number 1 contenders,
But
defeating the American Alpha.
What's cool are the NXT darlings are not just rolling over the top stars, the established names.
They come in hot, they get established because they need to be,
And they trip and fall over their inexperience.
and the story is told.
Yes. Obviously, people are watching. Because I've been saying that now for the last few weeks.
Well, here's a challenge, though. Your boy Apollo Crews could not
He needs to be released.
thwart the efforts of, I'm sorry?
He needs to be released off of Team Super Friends.
Oh, you picked Apollo Crews. He is a part of
did.
your team. You are
He
down
may have been the
several
worst
hundred points in the
pick
draft.
I've ever made.
The worst you've ever made.
Yes.
Really?
Maybe worse than Awesome Kong or Karma from a few years ago. He's done absolutely freaking nothing. Tell me I'm wrong.
What are they doing, though, with him? What is?
Nothing. He's
Is this an end to a means, though? Is there?
why put him in the ring with Baron Corbin right now? Keep those two apart for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? It's just like Apollo Crews, extremely athletic, very charismatic. Maybe he's just not clicking. I don't know. But oh my good God Almighty. he's like enhancement talent. But he's way better than that. Why do you cringe?
Because I think you have an inability to hear the words that come out of your mouth, and I hear the words that come out of your mouth.
But I'm being honest.
And I appreciate your honesty.
As a fantasy sports team owner, Apollo Crews would feel the same way. He'd be like, yeah, I absolutely suck right now. He's not getting me any points. That's what I look at. Who's going to score for me? And he's not scoring.
He is not.
He's like Beavis. He's never going to score.
So you're blaming Apollo Crews for your 190-point
Absolutely,
deficit in the draft?
Yes. I should have taken Braun Strowman. At least he's going to win.
Folks, The Miz gave Dolph Ziggler another chance at the Intercontinental Championship this past Tuesday on SmackDown, and Ziggler would fall short again. However, it wasn't all his fault because Hairspray came into the mix again. Not the movie, not the Broadway play,
but didn't that happen to him the first time also?
Yeah, but Maurice did it the first time. Miz did it this time.
You know what eventually is going to have to happen is Ziggler's going to have to put it. If the Miz gives him another title match, Ziggs should put his career on the line.
He has to, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He has to.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way it matters, and that's the only way.
Why would Miz give him another shot? He has nothing.
Well, he signed
to
a new
gain.
contract.
Agreed.
Did the Miz?
Yeah.
Interesting. When do you think we'll see that at No Mercy?
I hope sooner than later.
Well, folks, for the first time since 2009, October of 2009 to be specific, John Cena was pinned 1-2-3 on an episode of WWE television. 6 years since John Cena has taken a pinfall victory on an episode on an episode of WWE television, and he did so at the hands of Dean Ambrose.
Who needed it? Ambrose needed some momentum back. But you know, you can listen. Cena a couple years ago lost every pay-per-view for a year straight. It didn't matter.
He did.
Didn't matter. Still John Cena.
Yeah.
And
the three-way matchup made for No Mercy, Cena, Ambrose, and Styles. Next week on SmackDown, AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose in a rematch from their big matchup where Styles became the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And next week on SmackDown is going to be very interesting, David Hero. This is a marquee match, right? Pay-per-view quality match on SmackDown next week.
Well, so is Ambrose and Cena.
That's the matchup I'm talking. Well, yes, but that wasn't advertised. We didn't know that last week, that match was going to happen. They're making a point to do it this week because this could be, and I think it will be. I'm going to go on record and predict that next week will be the first week that WWE SmackDown surpasses WWE Raw in the ratings.
Well, let's see what Raw has on their main event next week.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Here's what Raw's up against next week. Monday Night Football.
Yes.
And the first presidential debate, which is expected to exceed 80 million viewers, beating out Reagan Carter from 1980.
I cannot wait for that very first presidential debate. I may not be watching. I'll have to DVR Raw.
I'm going on record. I'm not watching Raw live Monday night. I'll be watching the debate to
Well, but you know,
see what happens
to be fair, it should be good because Hillary's been getting a lot of sleep lately. She's had, what, 2 or 3 days off to rest?
She's preparing for the debate.
Yeah.
The liar is saying that, yes, she's resting, but she's preparing
How
for
do you
the
know
debate.
she's not taking a nap?
She can't sleep as a human being, just like a human
course
being
she
doesn't
can.
get pneumonia.
She has pneumonia?
She had pneumonia.
Oh, my God. Well, now you can't vote for her. She has an illness.
So that's the challenge that Raw has next week. So SmackDown smartly, WWE smartly. Look, here's the other thing to think about. Last week, SmackDown came within 60,000 viewers of defeating Raw. Raw had achieved its lowest rating in some 20 years. It got its second lowest rating in some 20 years this past week. SmackDown, we don't have it yet, may have beaten Raw in the ratings this week. It's unlikely, but they probably will next week. And here's the thing. So Mick Foley was talking about that, talking about the battle between the two shows and how they want to have rating supremacy and blah, 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 blah. Shouldn't WWE be telling us what those ratings are, if that's really the barometer for which show is better? No?
Because, no, here's why. Because that's like, then they know the real numbers.
Well, do you think it'll hurt them? Saying 3 million people a week watch these shows?
Yes.
Really?
Here's why. Let's
Why?
say it's 3 million this week. Next week it's 2.65.
Oh, so if they say 10 million, but really only 3 million are watching, that would be better.
Yes.
Like a certain candidate's net worth.
Hillary's worth that much? $3 million?
She's worth quarter of a billion. She's worth $250 million. The other guy says he's worth $10 billion, but nobody knows for sure.
Do you really care?
Believed to be between 3 and 5.
Do you care?
When he's lying about it, I care, yes.
But why?
Because he's lying about it. He's lying.
We all lie. Come on.
There's a difference. My little white lies and your big tall tales don't hurt an entire
There's nothing white about your
being.
lies.
Anything else on SmackDown before Battle of the Brands or Be the Booker? Coming up next, David Hero.
No, I'm good.
No, you're not, actually. That's the problem. That is this week's SmackDown report, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a timeout, and when we come back, it is Be the Booker. Now, I'll tell you this, in full disclosure, to tell the truth, if you will, you're not getting all of Be the Booker right now. You're getting most of Be the Booker. And then on Saturday night, Be the Booker as a standalone episode is where you'll get the results of the big matchups on that show on Saturday night on the channels of PWR. So with that, still to come, coming up next, Be the Booker. We've got hot news, including a brand new TNA knockout coming to Impact Wrestling. And also, we will tell you what happened in our efforts to give Lucha Underground a try this week. That coming up next right here on Primetime.
The Soder family thought they'd take a road trip this summer. A little fun, a little sun. What could possibly go wrong? Even under the best driving conditions, semi-trucks can still be dangerous. The results of being in a wreck with 40 tons of steel and speed can be catastrophic. And it only gets worse when you don't have Gruber Law Offices on your side. If you or a loved one has been injured by a semi-truck, call Gruber Law Offices now. One call, that's all.
The PWR Fantasy Draft continues at Clash of Champions, with Damian remaining in the lead overall with 2,035 points to the 1,845 points of the Super Friends. Who will be in the lead after Sunday? We'll have full results and the new scores right here on next week's show. But now it's time for Be the Booker.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Thursday night here from Casablanca on Brady. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero. David, it is time now, as Linda said, for Be the Booker. You look distressed. You look distraught. You look like you're losing.
No, I am losing.
Handedly.
No, 190 points is not that many, and I got the MVP going in right now, Kevin Owens.
You actually, to your credit, you have far more Raw roster talents on your draft roster than I do.
Yes.
But I've got the ones that matter, such as Sami Zayn.
No, that's great. I'm glad you do.
So in this segment, what we do, folks, what he does is he predicts, if you will, if he gets it right,
It's not a
the
prediction.
matches
It's how I would,
until you gloat about them.
I am the guy that is writing the pay-per-view. It's how I would do it.
If in some demented reality that became the case, yes, this is how you would book
What would you
it.
do if I get the call one day to go to Stamford?
I'd send them your contract with me.
Not for lunch. I would go there and have a meeting with the powers that be.
1241 East Main?
Is that the address?
Mm-hmm.
You've been there?
Yeah, I have been to Titan Tower.
Really?
I absolutely have.
What were you doing there?
That's not for anybody to know.
Is there a
I had a
casting
meeting.
couch?
No, I was not on it.
Linda was there.
So if you had the pencil,
Yes.
if you will,
I got
and
the
was
fuchsia.
writing the show on Sunday, tomorrow, tomorrow if you're watching the standalone edition of Be the Booker, for Clash of Champions, how would you do it? Firstly, the pre-show matchup. Your girl, Alicia
love
Fox,
Alicia
going
Fox.
up against Nia Jax.
And she is more lovely and amazing and beautiful than she ever has been. And she's going to have a very tall order with Nia Jax. Nia Jax is the beast. She is the one that is doing the damage to the women's division. And it's Nia Jax's first match really with a name opponent. But Nia Jax is on a mission to become the women's champion.
A mission from God?
You know what? Why? You know what? You gave me the bad marker. Look at this. You can barely see what I'm trying to do there. But Nia Jax is going, Alicia Fox is going to scratch and claw and bite and kick her way to a loss. But it's going to be one hell of a match for Alicia Fox.
Next up will be the endorsed Sami Zayn taking on Chris Jericho.
Two of Canada's favorite athletes.
Yes.
You got Screech against Y2J.
Screech.
He looks like Screech.
He does not look like Screech. How dare you say such a thing about an endorsed talent?
Screech looks right now.
He does not. He does not. Is Screech
Google
redhead?
it. They both have the same.
Is he a redhead?
Sami Zayn
Is he from Canada?
He's not a true ginger.
Oh, You're alleging him of perpetrating?
He's Palestinian. How can he be a true ginger?
They don't come out that way.
I've never seen a redheaded
Doesn't mean they
Palestinian.
don't exist. I had never seen a black Russian until recently.
That's your favorite drink.
No, white Russian is my favorite drink.
Is that one of your white lies again?
Can you carry on with Be the Booker in this matchup? Zayn versus Jericho?
I mean, Jericho's going to give Sami Zayn all he can. He's going to work the leg. That Sami Zayn gets hurt every week. He's the underground underdog.
The underdog from the underground.
And he is. Here's the dynamic.
What's the dynamic?
Is Kevin Owens.
He's busy.
Kevin Owens, his former best friend, is wrestling his current best friend.
Yes.
So you'd think that Kevin Owens would give Chris Jericho the keys to the kingdom, how to beat Sami Zayn.
Okay.
But you got to believe that Sami Zayn needs to get on track. He needs to get a victory. He needs to beat Chris Jericho. If he does not beat Chris Jericho, he will soon become the Raw version of Dolph Ziggler.
And folks, the New Day will defend their tag team championships against the Club, Gallows and Anderson, who were a bit more serious again this past Monday night on Raw.
Gallows and Anderson need to win. They need to. They have to win.
You're going to end the streak.
You know what? Streaks are meant to be broken, and there's no real streak with New Day because Demolition has that streak. So
they should come short of that, shouldn't they?
Yes, they should. New Day is still going to sell a ton of merch. They're going to sell all the T-shirts, the boxes of cereal, the glow-in-the-dark gimmicks on their foreheads.
They're probably the second best branded stars behind John Cena right now, aren't they?
Right now, yes. And then you think about it, it's like the club has nothing to sell. They have no merch that's moving. Do you then put the belts on the team that's making pennies for the company, or do you keep the belt on the team that's making them all the money for the company?
Seemingly, you would only do that if you value the chase. The New Day trying to get their championships back.
You could ask yourself this: what other tag team on Raw is worthy of chasing New Day if New Day stays the champions?
Can't be Endzone Cass, can it?
It can't. No.
Can it be the Shining Stars?
Absolutely not.
Can it
So
be?
what does that tell
Where's
you?
the Ascension? They're on SmackDown.
What does that tell you? It means Gallows and Anderson have got to defeat
New
New
champions.
Day and become the new WWE Raw Tag Team Champions.
All right, the United States Championship on the line as Rusev defends against Roman Reigns.
Has Rusev been any better than he has been the last few weeks?
No.
He's been on fire. Roman Reigns has been just as good. Both guys have a ton of steam and momentum behind each other. This is a
Reigns too?
Oh, Reigns had a great cage match with Kevin Owens.
Does that matter though in their mind?
Of course it does.
Okay.
But Rusev has been getting the better of Roman Reigns the last couple
yes.
weeks.
And he's got Lana, won't you marry me now in his corner.
She's been non-existent.
Maybe that's on purpose.
I think that Lana has been forgotten.
Is she transitioning in ring?
At one time, Lana was a star.
The star of the two.
She would have been a top 5 Raw star. But right now...
Number 2?
No, that was Charlotte. But you want to know something? I want to see Rusev retain. I think they need to keep building up Rusev as the guy. And I'm sure it's not going to happen, but if I'm doing this show, I keep the belt on Rusev. Roman Reigns does not need it right now.
They are 3-3, ladies and gentlemen. Sheamus and Cesaro. This match, the rubber match, if you will, match 7 in the best of 7 series. Between the two, it occurs at Clash of Champions on Sunday.
7 series in this.
They're not fighting for anything. That's the challenge. What at the end of it, what does whoever win?
They're going to get a universal title shot.
Was it smart to go 3 up, 3 down?
Course. Why not?
Really?
Yeah.
You want to keep it going back and forth a little bit?
No, that way, because now it's like, oh my gosh, Rusev or Cesaro was down 3-0.
But here's what I want to see, and we don't see it often enough. A best 2 out of 3 falls matchup that goes 2 falls, and a best of 7, 5 series or whatever that doesn't go all the way. Because that's more surprising than the cliched, got to get to that last match or fall.
This match is a draw.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's what I would do if I was booked.
Really?
And then you go 10 more minutes after that.
Makes it worth something, give a big fight at the end.
Yes.
Okay. Creating something out of nothing. I like that. Interesting. What would the cause think about that?
Well,
Frank
it's too
Cosentino.
late for a temperature check. We're already committed.
Cruiserweight Championship on the line as TJ Perkins defends his newly won championship
Put down Manic on there, but I'm like,
against the Brian Kendrick.
Well, you don't have T.J. Perkins win a whole tournament to have him lose the belt on his first title defense on pay-per-view to Kendrick. T.J. Perkins needs to retain. They're going to have a hell of a match. They're going to put all the stops. And this will be the first ever former TNA star to win their debut pay-per-view match.
Even though he's not really a former TNA star.
Of course he is. He was
He was under a mask, though, remember?
Right, but still.
The Women's Championship will be on the line. It is a three-way matchup, ladies and gentlemen. Charlotte versus Sasha Banks versus Bayley. Charlotte trying to hold on to her Women's Championship on the Raw side.
This match doesn't even have me a little excited.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
Because it's a triple threat.
Okay.
Just too much stuff. There's going to be spots where someone's going to crash and burn to the outside. It'll be one-on-one, and you're not going to see as much cool stuff as we should in a regular match. I think they rushed Bayley into this match too quick. They could have had Bayley slowly build up, but putting her into the pay-per-view so quickly for the title, I think, is rushing her. Sasha should be the favorite because the fans love her, but the fans love Bayley just as much. Charlotte has been dominant. I'm going to go with Bayley.
Oh, she finally gets it?
Even though I think it's way too soon, just the way she's been getting handed to her the last couple weeks makes her look like she's ineffective.
And she did take the pinfall victory this past, pinfall loss this past Monday night on Raw.
And she lost the week before, too.
Right in front of us?
I don't know if it's that obvious, but why not? And then Sasha and Bayley can go into their program. And
what about Charlotte?
And Dana Brooke can go into theirs.
Do you want to see that?
No. You don't like seeing sisters or brothers ever fight.
All right, folks. Well, that is Be the Booker for
Well, we still got this
WWE
one.
Clash of Champions. Well, David, what we're going to do is come Saturday night on the channels of the Pro Wrestling Report, you'll get to watch Be the Booker in its entirety, along with our booking of the main event matchup between Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins for the WWE Universal Championship that Saturday night on the channels of the Pro Wrestling Report, including Fight TV and YouTube. So with that, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, it's the Event Center. We've got hot news. We've got DWHS. And this week's Impact Wrestling Report, which features discussion on the newest member of the TNA Impact Wrestling roster.
The biggest party event of WrestleMania weekend is back. WWE Hall of Famer Kevin Nash presents Shenanigans Orlando. Join Nash and his friends for a huge VIP party Friday, March 31st. Party with the biggest stars of wrestling at the world famous Mangoes on International Drive to kick off WrestleMania weekend. Don't miss Shenanigans Orlando, hosted by Kevin Nash. Tickets are available now and going fast at PWRshow.com. That's PWRshow.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Thursday night. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside David Hero. And I'd like to, as the person responsible for all the things that come out of his mouth, I'd like to apologize to all of you who were offended by his comments against Hillary Clinton earlier in this episode.
I wasn't talking about Hillary Clinton.
You said something about her having pneumonia.
I said that's terrible.
You said it was just like she has the Zika virus and she's not qualified for president.
Who's Tazika?
That's what I heard. Tazika, that's my cousin. The Zika virus is something different.
I was talking about your cousin.
You know Tazika?
Who doesn't know Tazika? Where do you think the Zika virus came from?
Michelle, Tamika, and Tanya.
You can't talk about presidents' daughters like that.
Jeez. Folks, let's get to what are we doing here. That was Me the Booker. Now we're going to talk about the Event
You said
Center.
Michelle, right?
The Event Center, Michelle, Tamika, and Tanya.
Yeah, the mother and daughter and his two daughters?
No, and I stop. This is time now to talk about Orlando, Florida,
yes,
WrestleMania weekend,
so
David Hero. We talked about shenanigans earlier. I can't talk about how great that event is going to be.
But there's a bigger event also. There's another event.
You got something brewing, I hear.
It's huge. I mean, as you know, the last few weeks, I've been very busy. I've been jet setting, flying all over the country.
Limousine riding?
Wedding ceremonies. I have been finding young couples in love, and I have been making their dreams come true.
No, sorry.
What? It's true. They want that, they want that ceremony that they'll never forget. And that's what I've been doing because,
Well, they'll never forget it.
No, they won't. I mean, the young people love me and I love the young people. You know what I mean? So it's like we're helping them get married. And Al Snow and I.
Who?
Al Snow.
Al Snow.
The Reverend Al Snow.
Wait a minute. He's ordained as well?
Yes.
Al Snow does weddings.
Yes.
That is
so
fascinating.
we are going.
Wait. Is Head there?
Well, he's one of the witnesses. Head does the baptisms.
Okay.
It's weird because he can't pick them up out of the water, so they have to swim.
Okay.
So, but Al and I will be performing wedding ceremonies at WrestleMania weekend.
When? You don't have time for that.
Well,
we got Shenanigans, we got WrestleCon.
But Sunday before WrestleMania,
yeah,
there will be time available.
Really?
So all you happily
engaged?
I don't care if you're engaged or not. As long as the check clears, we'll do the ceremony. It's going to be just fine. So it's real simple. We're going to have more of the details coming out. Al Snow and I will be doing wedding ceremonies. We'll be tagging in and out, throughout the event. And yeah, if you want to get married at WrestleMania, what better way to do it than to get married with Al Snow and myself?
Actually, that is, that's a good idea.
You can be the best man, and Linda can be the maid of honor.
Do I get a payday?
Well, we'll figure something out.
Just the candy bar.
Skittles,
that's all I need.
Skittles in Orlando is not a good combination.
All righty, super. Skittles, mentioned anywhere at any time lately, is not a good combination.
In Florida, especially.
That's why I had those. Now it makes sense. And yep.
And you were wearing a hoodie. It wasn't Halloween at that time either, bro. That was January.
More information coming soon on these weddings, I assume. WrestleMania Sunday, get married. WrestleMania weekend, buy a wrestler.
Al and I are working all the details, but it's definitely going to happen in Orlando.
So you could
have Shenanigans as your bachelor party.
Because it is already someone's bachelor party.
Yes, it will be Al Snow's bachelor party.
So you could have your bachelor party with Al Snow at Shenanigans, and then get married in Orlando as part of WrestleMania weekend.
How great is that? And
I might do it.
And listen, if you're not happy, I can do the annulment right after.
You are ordained to do that as well?
I can do everything. I can do baptisms, funerals, and weddings.
All right, folks. Well, more information coming on that soon.
So, you know what that means?
What does it mean, David?
I'm a reverend. Reverend David Hero.
Folks, let's go to this week's Impact Report. As you know, of course, since we air on Thursdays, we talk about last week's Impact and the very successful, endorsed Rockstar Spud had an empty arena match last week, David Hero, against Braxton Sutter. Again, as I did last week, I'll give kudos again to TNA for using their resources as best they can.
So they had 2 matches without an audience on their program.
Yes, they did. But when you get a week every 3 months in the studio, these are the things they have to do to keep the content fresh, keep spoilers out of the mix, and keep people engaged, and it seems to be working.
It does. But do you ever follow Spud on Snapchat?
I do. He's got a cute dog.
Is that what that is?
What did you think it was?
I had no idea. I thought it was like a ferret or something.
It's a dog.
He's very entertaining, isn't he?
Yes.
He's very British.
Spudville, I think is his name.
I think so,
on
yes.
Snapchat?
Yes. Yeah, but Rockstar Spud, he's been doing great in TNA.
Oh, he's endorsed.
He's endorsed, but let's talk about the match that everyone's been talking about.
Yes.
Delete or Decay?
Yes.
Decay
From
or delete?
2 weeks ago or the continuation last week?
The continuation.
Yeah?
The continuation was amazing.
See, you automatically laugh, and that's a good thing.
Well,
You're
no,
having a
because
reaction
I love
to
how
it.
Matt Hardy's doing baptisms also.
Who did he baptize?
His brother.
I thought he saved him.
Well, that's what a baptism is.
Oh.
You saved them. He dunked him, brought him up.
In a pool or in a natural body of
In the
water?
lake, didn't like what he saw, dunked him again, brought him back up. I wonder if that can work with other people.
Such
if you
as?
don't like what you see, you just dunk them again.
Big news, TNA announcing earlier this week that former WWE ring announcer, Brandy Rhodes, the wife of Cody Rhodes, is signed on to be a knockout now with the company, David Hero.
That's amazing.
How so?
Well, I'm not sure she's ever been trained to be a wrestler.
She initially trained at the Performance Center to be a wrestler and ended up being a ring announcer. Her desire was to be a
that
wrestler.
just means that Cody's not far behind.
Well, there are reports out there that Cody Rhodes, by some of the words he said out of his own mouth and some of the things that obviously his wife being signed with the company, that he is also on his way to not just continue to participate in Ring of Honor, but also participating in TNA. But there's a little bit of questioning, and you can pick this up from some of the cryptic tweets that Cody has sent out at times and some of the reports that are out there about whether or not Cody Rhodes can be Cody Rhodes. We know Ryback just changed his name from Ryan to Ryback legally, so he can continue to use that name. Warrior did it as well in disputes with WWE.
It'd be kind of silly to bring in Brandy Rhodes and you can't have Cody Rhodes.
Right. How that worked, don't know, but if there truly
because
was...
she was never known as Brandy Rhodes.
She wasn't. That's right. That is right. Elix, what was her name?
I don't remember. Eden something.
Yeah. But so you've got this Rhodes
Garden
name.
of Eden.
Yes. You've got this Rhodes name, which is synonymous. Dusty Rhodes created that name well before WWE ever got involved. If there is this dispute, what should the company WWE do, and what should the man Cody Reynolds do?
Listen, WWE took the Dudley Boys from the Dudley Boys.
They did.
Okay?
Yeah.
They had to be Team 3D.
After the Dudley Boys created it. Now, they may have bought it. Well, ECW certainly didn't copyright that.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting. Maybe he just comes in as Cody.
That's all he really needs, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when you have such a legendary name, how can you not use it?
Well,
that is a slap in the face, in my opinion. Granted, the WWE may have the right to do that if they are exercising that ability, but it's not right.
Well, but he signed the contract. He agreed to it.
That's true.
He agreed to it. He knew what he was getting involved in. And you would think, I mean, WWE is not going to let their brand go anywhere
They have
else.
no reason to.
No. So be upset if you want fan base, but hey, at the end of the day, they know who Cody Rhodes is.
That is true.
I'm sure you won't
well,
get
the world does.
As long as they don't call him Cody Rex,
I'm sorry, who's that?
like Aaron Rex, he'll be fine. I mean, imagine that.
Folks, there's also been discussion as it pertains to Impact Wrestling as to who may be suiting the company. Billy Corrigan recently done an interview where he named some pretty big names as people who are interested or have bid on ownership stakes in TNA Impact Wrestling. All of that will be discussed in great detail tomorrow night on Feedback Friday here on the channels of the Pro Wrestling Report. Tomorrow night on Feedback Friday. Are you lost?
I'm just confused. There's so many sheets of paper.
On this discussion of whether or not WWE specifically is interested in purchasing TNA Wrestling. With that, let's go to this week's hot news. And last week, folks, we told you that we would give Lucha Underground a chance. We would watch the episode. We would give Lucha Underground a try. Unfortunately,
I had one problem with mine.
What's that?
It was I couldn't get it out of the SAP mode. I couldn't understand anything they were talking about.
That's a single button on your remote control, isn't
I
it?
lost the remote.
Well, anyways, I simply did not, unfortunately, get a chance to check out last week's
Oh, you
episode.
missed a great episode. It was awesome.
You didn't watch it? Oh, you did watch it, but
I
it was
couldn't
stuck in...
understand it.
But,
And it was confusing because Cal had his buddies over there, had their Legos.
Didn't Cal understand
and
it?
They built this huge
Based on what
wall
you told
in
us
front
last
of the
week?
TV, and then I couldn't watch any of it.
Oh my gosh. All right. So we will defer that to next week, ladies and gentlemen. Also, we found out that this week, will you stop? That's my only question. Will you just stop?
Sure, Gorilla. And I don't mean it like that. Gorilla Monsoon. Jeez.
Eva Marie's suspension is up, as is Paige's, ladies and gentlemen. I thought for sure we'd see Eva Marie, or at least hear of Eva Marie being a part of Smackdown this past Tuesday, but that would not be the case. What are they waiting for, David Hero?
The right time to bring her back. Right now, everything is focused on Harley Quinn and Becky Lynch.
Ooh, maybe Eve comes back at No Mercy. Maybe she comes back next week on SmackDown. I really thought they could have continued the Eve story, if you will, because they didn't need Eve during her suspension.
I cannot wait until Eva Marie becomes the women's SmackDown champion.
It's got to happen.
There's no doubt.
It's got to happen.
That belt was made for her.
Indeed it was. Folks, that is this week's hot news. With that, let's go on to this week's DWHS. David Hero, into your camera, please.
This week's DWHS is all about John freaking Cena on the SmackDown brand. The guy is all about hustle, loyalty, and respect, and that's exactly what he's getting from me this week. He's off during the week filming his new show with Fox, yet still has time to come back to put over Dean Ambrose. He's put over AJ Styles. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he does get the nod and grabs that belt back at the next pay-per-view. What is that one called?
No Mercy?
No Mercy.
No
There's
Mercy.
so many. But you know,
Don't forget Bound for Glory on October 2nd, coming up the week before No Mercy. We're going to have to be the book that as well.
have they announced any matches yet?
Several.
4, right, so far?
Sure.
I would love to do that, but this is DWHS. We're talking about John Cena.
Yes, we are.
And just, even though he is the old, lazy, part-time player, he's still the guy that's involved in all the main storylines with the top two
face
guys.
that.
He is still the face that runs the place. He's working with AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose, elevating both guys to be bigger stars as a part-time player. John Cena, still the man, still the guy. Say what you want, he's going to beat Ric Flair's record. He will win 17 times. And with that, David Hero has spoken.
Speaking of the part-time players, what happened to the story between Titus and Darren? We've seen that last couple of weeks. Not that I'm missing it, but...
Well, you only have 3 hours. And there just wasn't time for that again.
Folks, I want to remind you of our programming changes. As you know, here, Primetime, now available to you on Thursday nights. Tomorrow night, it's a brand new edition of Feedback Friday. Saturday, it's the full, complete version of Be the Booker, parts we talked about earlier, along with our thoughts and his booking of the main event matchup between Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens for the WWE Universal Championship. And then on Sunday night, we have Battle of the Brands, where we talk about the show that took the week between Raw and Smackdown, and more importantly, we preview for you what to look for in the upcoming week of wrestling programming. And then from there, after WWE Clash of Champions this Sunday on pay-per-view at PWRshow.com, you can join Meathead and Matthew Thomas for PWR Reaction, taking your live phone calls after the show with your immediate and instant reaction to the goings-on from WWE's Raw-branded show. All of that coming over the course of the next few days here from the Pro Wrestling Report on the channels of PWR. You know, all that content, David Hero, costs you $0.99? $0.99?
Then how do I get paid?
Residuals.
Oh, repeats?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or syndicated.
And what do they pay for those?
It's all written out in your contract.
I need to look at that again.
You absolutely should look at that again. For this one, that one, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for joining us here on Primetime. We'll see you tomorrow night on Feedback Friday.